Okay, so folks, welcome to this quick video. I just wanted to take a quick snapshot look at what you probably need to do at the beginning of every season when you're starting a game, a game or just a season of Axis Empires. In this case, this is a game I'm playing with an opponent in Dai Senso, taking a look at the overall situation. We will here in a second, but when you start the turn, you have to really look at, of course, the strategic hex tracker. Now, Japan has these 7 places that he has taken charge of. So, obviously, I want to take at least 2 more to get him down to a +1 VP on the track. What this means is if you look at the turn record track, at this stage of the war, but the war started early, so it's effectively 1944, beginning of 44 summer. From a time frame standpoint, you can see that VJ Day here. Take a look at some of these things. So VJ Day is November, December, winter 44. And we've got, turn is it here? Or right here. So all of these things will be coming on. This will be moving over to here. And all this stuff will be coming on. Now I'm really starting to ramp up the stuff for the United States. You can see I've got quite a bit coming in here, and so do the Brits. And they're getting a little bit toned down. They are getting a fleet carrier back, but they've lost quite a few carriers. We are playing with Schiffskrieg, and we keep track of the sunk units on the battle board. And as you can see right here, let's zoom in here a little bit. It's been pretty bloody for the Japanese. They've lost quite a few carriers in some freakish battles here. Why is this not working? Okay. Let's zoom it back out. These are some carriers and some other sets of carriers. A lot of fleet carriers have been wiped out. I think 3 of them just from submarine attacks. I also was able to take out one of his fleet carriers in a gunnery attack due to the fact he just didn't have enough units that could make it to the battle. And then he's lost a few battleships. Here's the American losses. They've lost just 2 fleet carriers and a light carrier and a few cruisers and some battleships, some slow battleships. The British are even better off. They've lost a couple of cruisers, it looks like. That looks like a cruiser. And 1 battleship. So the losses have favored the Western Allies. Chalk that off to my opponent. He's not really a naval warfare guy, and he hasn't played Dai Senso before, so he's doing pretty well if you ask me. So the situation is this. We've been having a big buildup of troops in Papua. And unfortunately for me, he's done a very good job screening me out of here. One of the things you have to remember is if you want to place fleets in a sea zone, let's just say, for example, the Bismarck Sea, I want to put something here to cut off his supplies, which would be ideal. You need to have an air base or a naval base on that sea zone. So if you look at that situation here, that's not what I have. I do have a naval and air base, but it's out of supply. I've got to get it supplies. The supply trace comes through here, and it's too far away. There's no roads that I have. So I have to take one of these hexes here. Let's check it out. So we've got... I've got to change these remark. Okay, so he's got this. This is a port, and this is a 2-handed port. But basically, you know, that's actually not a port. This is, but I need this, so I have to take that. And to do that, I need to get air power to keep him from basically getting in there and keeping me from getting it. So I need to be able to place an air unit on top of the hex, and ideally at the same time, which isn't going to be possible at the moment, cut off his supply lines so that his HQ can't do anything, and he can't place any support units in return. So to do that, though, the way to come in. And I haven't really talked to him about this, but I'm sure he's looking at it too, because he carefully examines the plans as well. Not all the time, but we have been lately. You can see that I can get this port, which is a two-front port, Ambonia. What is that? Ambona. I don't know if that's spelled or correctly. Anyway, that is a two-front port on the Bismarck Sea. That would allow me to cut off the supplies. So that's a target for me, but I'm not in a position to take that easily. So if we go over here to this area, you can see he's built up heavily here and here, and he's got a pretty decent fleet here facing off against my, actually a pretty large fleet. You can see I need to destroy that. I don't need that anymore. I will not need that fort anymore because he can't attack. He's put in the strategic warfare box, you'll see that he has where is that thing? I never find the strategic warfare box as fast as I'd like to. But he's got kamikazes in there, which means he can't attack or invade or anything right now. You can't place offensive support units out there. They can only intercept. In return for that, he gets an extra, as you can see, -1 on his delay modifiers. So with his VPs plus that, and then he's got +2 for my USCL and +1 for material shortages, he's net 0. I'm at net -2, and I'll soon be at net -3. So I'll be winning the strategic war pretty soon. Also, my next card will bring in the USN superiority marker, and that will let me actually, it's not the next card, but the card after that. I'll be able to add +1 to all my attacks, and it's going to be really hard for him to sustain any support units at all. But I've been trying to raid this with air units. I've been trying to sink his ships. He finally moved them away. He realized it was just too dangerous, and he has no ability to attack the Coral Sea anymore. So he's moved them all up to Truk. And he's got a pretty big fleet in Truk to counter my American fleet, which is stationed in New Caledonia. And fleet carrier-wise, I've got 2 nice big fleet carriers and a small carrier. I think he's got 14 air power up here. But the problem he has now, though, is I've been able to place a Servron marker up here in Attu, because he never came to really do anything to take that. So in Attu, it's a very dangerous situation. He has no air power. He's got air power, but he has no fleet power up there. So he's going to have to divide up this fleet because his other fleet over in Saigon is needed to counter the British. So I'll be doing a full-bore assault on these guys here with an invasion here. I have an air base within 3 in this danger zone. So I'll do an invasion here, but first I'll put a carrier strike force on top of this. If I can get it there, he'll have to probably intercept that because that's going to cut off his supplies. He will have no supplies into the Java Sea because he has no other ports on the Java Sea that allow him to get supplies. These are on the, what do we call this here? Fallujah Sea? Fallujah Sea. And this is the Bismarck Sea. So if you look, and this is one of the things that's very tricky in Axis empires, you have to really keep an eye on where your bases are. That's his only base that has supplies. He could also have this base, but if I cut off his supplies here, this base won't have supply. So that's what I want to do. If I do that, he won't be able to, and I take this with my invasion, which actually includes an American unit. I can get an American unit into a city. Now, this is a British dependent, so I can't put a logistics marker on there. But what I can do later is get this thing up to here, which he's been outflanked up in Indochina. I'm going to get an American unit up here if I can get supplies into this area, which isn't impossible. Then, and I'll probably need to get some American fleets over here, then I can place a logistics marker here. Okay. The other place I can also place a logistics marker. This is, let's see, these are both British dependents. British dependent. That's an NEI dependent. So actually, because that's an NEI dependent, if I can get that hex, which I could do because I'll be able to use this to invade and then use that to paradrop there, and that can become an American base. So the idea of cutting off the Java Sea is to prevent him from easily moving units over there. So I can put a subfleet in the Java Sea also to cut off his supply and generally make a nuisance of myself down here. I definitely don't want him to be able to place any units there. Okay, this is the kind of advanced planning you have to do. Let's scope up here and take a look at the Chinese front. Now again, he is pretty much done with his ability to advance here. He's not going to really take any of these he might get an offensive going at some point. But there's a real threat that I can get Americans coming up the pipe here. Now this is a good logistics location, and I can then start pumping units and invading here. Look, I can get into Davao. So this really is not an area he wants me to take care of. He does not want that. And he's pretty weak down here in Batavia. He just doesn't have it. And even though he's got the fortress units, he's running out of them. He only has 2 left here to place, and he's probably going to need to place them up here. So he's just running out of options, but I have to keep the pressure up on multiple fronts here, multiple locations. So the Bismarck Sea, got to keep up the pressure. Attu, got to keep up the pressure. Got to keep up the pressure over here and keep the Chinese active so that, he's got his HQs pretty well set to protect all of this. But as you can see, I've been able to create a partisan base and get over here. That's another place I could put an American unit, actually. If I have this port, I'll be able to transport right over to... No, I can't get to that. I don't think that's a 2-front port. No, I wouldn't be able to do that. But he's also in danger here in Hong Kong. He's put another unit in Hong Kong, I think. I can get some British units up there. So he's doing everything he possibly can. But there's just some weak areas. The Philippines are weak. You can see he has very little in the Philippines. Obviously, Borneo and the Java area are weak. I'm not saying he's done a bad job. I just think he's done as best as you can with the Japanese. And he never did play the food shortages card, so he's low on steps. That's the other problem he's got. If you look at his force pool, you'll see that he's got more steps than he did before. So he's not as in danger as he was before. Because he got all of those Volksgrenadier type, they're called Home Guard, I think. HG units. There they are. Right there. HG unit. Okay. So we're right in the cusp of when it's going to get very interesting from an attritional standpoint. And when it comes to ship builds, the Americans still have a lot of ships coming in. I got some British ships here, a huge pile of Americans here. That's 4 fleet carriers are coming in August. And so this is when the hammer can start dropping down on Japan. And one of the things I need to check, I really thought that maybe in the old game you could get 2 beachhead markers in the Pacific. But I'm not seeing that I can get those anymore. So I think you can only get 1 beachhead marker, which means only 1 invasion per turn, really. They must have found that it was too easy for the Americans and the British to win if they had 2 beachhead markers. So that's kind of the situation. The other thing you should always do is plan your next 4 seasons, I think, is a minimum of what you're going to play. Now, here's my intensive bombing card. That's on my list. And then coming in for next turn is Operation Galvanic, getting me the fleet train marker here, and another CV feed, another surface fleet. And I think the USN superiority marker comes in pretty soon. Where does that come in here? Sometimes it's easier to look on the tray here in Dai Senso and just see when stuff comes in. So I think it's with one of these here as a card. I finally get some Marines coming in. I don't have the second Marine because I didn't play the game. The game was so short, I wasn't able to play my usual oil embargo marker. So I don't have the oil embargo marker going. Okay. USN Superior. I wonder if it's already come in. I don't see it here. These are bombers. What's this? I've already played 40B, so that doesn't come in. Maybe it's already on the... I must have already brought it in. Let's see. I think I rolled badly on the delay roll. I've been really, really rolling badly on my delay rolls. Yeah, there's my superiority. So by the time August comes around, I get extra +1 on all my dice for air, and I don't know if it's just ships or ships and air. I'll have to check. But yeah, it looks like there's a little airplane icon and a little ship icon with that +1 here. So that's pretty brutal for the Japanese to take. How is the war going in Europe? Well, the Germans started the war super early, which is like in 1938. Which is probably something you'll ever see. But so if we look at the ESV, it's pretty low. It's actually well in my favor. So he's not going to get any help from the ESV. The Germans aren't doing well enough to help out. And I do have these ships over here. I think these won't be coming in. Those are ships that are from the French Vichy fleet that are left over. But I suppose maybe I can bring them over. I'm not sure. Anyway, these are ships that are in the box that I could bring over. Also, these bombers, if I wanted to bring them over. So I'm doing pretty well with those options there. Okay, there's my oil embargo. You can see I never brought it in because I wasn't allowed to. Total War started too fast, and those Marines will never come in. That's crazy, isn't it? There's some crazy things that happen here. So anyway, yeah, if you look at all these stacks, there's no extra beachhead marker there. There's not one there. Where's my extra beachhead marker? It just doesn't exist. It never existed. I think it did in the old game. Maybe get a second beachhead marker with the Dice of Decision. I'm not sure. All right, so yeah, nothing there. No. So that's the scoop. So that's basically the plan. So yeah, as I mentioned to you, I should definitely have these lined up. I only have the intensive bombing marker lined up, and then going into ESV3, so I can probably do the cricket conference. That was done in winter. I'm not sure what's this stuff over here. That was done in autumn. Operation King. This is get another 341, some steps. Get another minor country politics there. Okay, so interesting stuff. Operation Zipper, that was never played. Then we get into Cricket Conference, which came in winter, and this will start freeing up the this can't be played until it's 3, so I can play that in fall if I wanted to, and start bringing in these heavy hitters here. Okay, strategic intensive bombing, any card 42, and there's Manhattan Project. I think that's any card 48. Cricket Conference. There it is. So probably what will happen here is I'll probably go for this Cricket Conference in the fall, then Manhattan Project perhaps, or I might do Magneto. You never know. I'm just going to put them both here. Okay. And then we have Operation Iceberg. So that was played. So that looks like a possibility. Then there's Operation Oboe. And this is where I need to get some more armor. That is one of the crates. So that's what you're looking at probably for the next year. One of the problems the Americans have is they really don't get a lot of armor. This is kind of a scarcity here, and you need armor to build your main units up to full strength. You need armor to build up your HQs to full strength. I have an HQ in here someplace that I did. Oh, I'm sitting on it. Okay. So the armor and HQ, but you don't want to lose those steps. I don't have any Marines to help me out. So you want to get those 6-to-1s if at all possible. And you want to be able to put air on top of the target hex so he cannot reinforce it. That's what I need to do to take that. Or there's several steps for me to go ahead and take that. This is actually a good place to try to take right there, because it looks like it has fleet possibilities in the China Sea, in the Bismarck Sea. So that's a very sweet looking target right there. That's sweet looking, that's sweet looking, that's sweet looking, and that's sweet looking. Well, I already have that one. So it's not that he's doing super well here on some of these areas, but he's doing very well on others. So it will be interesting to see how he deploys his fleet. He'll be moving first. I don't know if I know what his card is. Balloon bombs. He already played balloon bombs. So he's going to play something here. I'm not going to flip it over. I don't know what it is yet. Soviets, they don't get in for a long time, so there's really not much planning you need to do with them. You just want to have them basically available to take back Mukden. You want to have the Soviets take Mukden in their turn, and probably Lanzhou if possible. Mongolia never came into the war, so I don't have access to these like you would normally do. So it's going to be a push down this way through the Mukden area to try to take those in the turn that you have. The turn that you do get, here's the turn track, Pacific. So it's going to be a 1-2 season turn, then that's it. And basically, that's good weather in the north. The bad weather's in the south and the southern monsoon zone. So the Allies definitely don't want to be screwing around in the southern monsoon zone by the end of the war. They want to be up in here and possibly landing in Japan. That's a real danger for him because of the situation over here. So get this hex. He really can't tolerate that, but even getting that hex, that's another. He can't defend them both, I don't think. He might be able to, but he's got other places to send steps. And so should be interesting. That's it. I'm going to sign off here. Thanks for listening, watching. Go ahead and like, subscribe, comment, say what I'm good about on this, say what I'm bad about on this, and have a nice day. Bye.